back, everyone, to the Shock Absorber podcast. Thank you for joining us on this Shock Absorber journey. And speaking of which, we're on a new... we've got some new passengers coming along with us today. Tim's a regular passenger.
I'm a regular passenger.
Yep,
I'm here often.
You've got a yearly pass to be on the couch. But Jai, at a regular guest...
Irregular?
Yeah, you just got a casual pass. You just
casual,
come on every so often.
Every once a year.
That's probably a bit more than once a year, but
maybe.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And it's important to have you on because today we're talking about welcoming, and you are the pastor at Soul Revival Church in charge of welcoming.
Yes.
But before we do that, we can talk about welcoming. And Tim and I recorded. Oh gosh, I can't speak properly today. We recorded a Chip Lunch podcast earlier, and we found out that you and I had a very strong shared childhood memory.
We did.
Which is...
the Sylvania Library.
Oh, you went to Sylvania Library.
Yeah, that's where all the good books were.
I went to Cronulla and Sutherland a lot.
Interesting.
They're libraries in the Shire, if anyone's wondering.
Yeah.
Council libraries. But we found out that we both went to libraries to borrow Tintin.
Books? Oh, right. No.
Books, yeah, books.
Surprise.
Tintin and Asterix books.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I could talk about that all day because that's what I used to do. And I used to be so frustrated when I go back to the library and there was the same one that I'd read over and over again.
Oh, right, yeah.
You said you read all of them? Is that true?
I mean, I was a kid. I don't think I was keeping track, but quite likely. We would always, I think it was particularly the Asterix ones used to have in the back a page and a picture of all the covers.
Yes.
And so we could look through and go, oh, here's the ones we've read, here's the ones we haven't read. And yes, the reason I remember Sylvania Library particularly is because I have a strong memory of going there and knowing exactly where Tintin and Asterix were in that library, whereas Sutherland was a bit bigger and I didn't always know where I was. Whereas the Sylvania Library is like, go straight to that wall and there they all are.
Yeah, I was the same at Cronulla, I think, because it was in a reasonably... But yes, I had that frustration when I was like, oh, they might have a new one. They didn't have anything different.
Well, I mean, well and truly stopped publishing by the time we were kids, weren't they?
Probably.
Yeah.
It's pretty old.
Yeah, it is very old, yeah.
It is.
So how old were you when you were into it?
I would have been, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, I think around that time.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the latest thing that we've had with Tintin is the movie, the kind of...
Yeah, which I never saw.
Animated / live action movie.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And it just didn't do it for me. It's a little bit too much action and not enough crime solving from Tintin.
It was Steven Spielberg.
Yes, Steven Spielberg.
Peter Jackson.
Yep.
There we go. No, I'd completely missed that. I think it was because it was CG, wasn't it? It was a weird animating style.
Yeah,
yes, it was.
And that kind of, I saw the trailers and I'm like, that doesn't excite me at all.
And I think they tried to make it like you were watching a graphic novel / comic, which is what Tintin was.
Yeah, and I think if they'd gone either of the opposite, like either comic book style, like actual cartoon, or actual live action, I would have been much more interested. But it was in those years of playing around with CGI and computer generated 3D modeling, and it just didn't excite me at all. So yeah, I gave it a complete miss.
Well, I found that there's an Asterix show on Netflix.
Right.
It's all
yes, I have.
It's all in French, but it looks great. But
what's that French actor, the famous?
Gerard Depardieu.
Is it Gerard Depardieu?
Yeah, is that the one that he's in?
I think so, but I'd have to check.
Because he was in
My Father the Hero. Did you ever watch that movie? That is a funny movie. That is a really funny movie.
That is the only thing I think I know him from.
The funniest scene is him playing tennis in that movie. That's I don't remember that bit. He's just this big French guy, like being terrible at tennis.
One of the Three Musketeer movies. He was in one of those.
I don't know.
Oh,
there's many ones.
The only one I remember is the one with mental blank. The brothers and Tim Curry is the evil priest.
That's the Three Musketeers, right?
Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay,
sorry.
Yeah, that's the Three Musketeer movie I can remember.
Those three dudes and that.
What am I? Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez.
Yeah, the brothers. Yes, the brothers. They are brothers. They have different names, right?
Yes.
I see what you're saying now. Yep.
Yeah.
So really, I was just trying to find a link. I'm excited to talk about Tintin and Asterix because such a fond part of my childhood.
But Asterix is not a good example of welcoming, as we've established just before we started recording, because that Gaulish village were not particularly welcoming to the Roman soldiers.
No, they were like the last holdout against the Romans because they had the magic potion.
They did.
and made them
strong.
It's really, except for
And
Obelix.
fast.
There is a time though that they give Obelix the magic potion. Do you know what it is?
No.
They're trapped in a pyramid in Egypt.
Oh, there you go.
They lock them in.
There you go. So you have a much more photographic memory of some of these details than I do.
Probably. They lock them in.
What was
there,
wrong
like-
with that dude? Why didn't he get the?
He fell into the cauldron of a magic potion when
So
he was a baby.
he was always strong.
Oh,
so
that's the big dude?
That's the big dude, yeah.
Gotcha.
So he'd carry around obelisks.
Right.
Because
Okay. So he didn't need it.
Mm.
So then why did they give it to him?
they really
They
needed it.
locked him into a
All
pyramid,
right.
so
It
he had
needed
to
to be like Hulk kind of.
had to smash them out of the pyramid.
Yes.
Right.
And they're like, one of my favorite parts about Asterix is the names that they give. Have
Yes.
given all the
Yes.
members of the Gaulish village, or everyone has got a funny name.
right.
So there's Asterix, but it sounds like an asterisk, the
Yeah.
symbol.
Yep.
Obelisk is like the obelisk, the big stones. Getafix was the druid.
Yep.
Get a fix.
Yep.
Get a fix.
The
Yep.
chief of the village was Vital Statistics.
Dogmatics is his dog.
Dogmatics is the dog.
great.
What was the
else?
fishmonger's name? The
I'll
fishmonger's
just
name was
have a
really
look
funny.
now. There's Impedimentia.
Oh, yeah. That's the chief's wife.
Chief's wife. Cacophonix is the bard.
Yep.
Geriatrix is the oldest inhabitant, and then Mrs. Geriatrix. Unhygienics is the fishmonger, and his wife is Bacteria. Fully automatics is the
It's
smith,
blacksmith, I
is the
think.
blacksmith.
Yep.
All these things that I completely missed as a kid.
Same. I missed a lot of them as well. And all the Roman soldier names are really funny too, which I can't remember.
I'm trying
That
to
might
have a
be
look
best.
now.
Yep.
But,
But then, yes, the link that I was trying to make with them not being welcoming is they weren't welcoming the Roman soldiers into the village, and the Gaulish villagers were not welcome in the Roman camps either, because they would meet them in the forest and beat them up.
Right.
Did
Did they ever ask what the Romans did for them? No.
They didn't.
No.
They also ate wild boar. That's the only thing they would eat. They
Yeah.
loved eating wild boar that they
Okay.
caught in the forest.
yeah, it was always a feast at the end. The last image in every one is them sitting around having a feast and eating lots of wild boar.
Oh, and there's a repeating story of that when they're out on the sea, they always meet the same group of pirates,
Oh yeah,
and they always
Right.
beat them up.
Right.
Later on, there's this thing of the pirates are like, there's a ship on the horizon, and they're like, does it have a fat kid and a little short puny Gaul on it? And they're like, yes. And they swim away because they're so terrified of it. Anyway,
Sail the other way.
yeah. You actually had an interesting story though related to welcoming, was when the Apple store first opened in Sydney,
Yes.
and you went with a number of people to go see what it was.
Yeah, a
was
few
like.
of us from church went. I can't remember. It was a while ago. I can't remember when it was. But yeah, we lined up around the block, massive line to get in. It's that big one with all the big glass on the
on
front.
George Street.
Yes. Yes. And so, yeah, when we went there, you got free shirts. I think one of the guys managed to score a free umbrella, which was
Wow.
quite funny because he was not an Apple person, didn't want anything to do with it. He was just there for the fun. And you know who you are. Yeah, when we walked in, it was just like, I don't know, there was all these people with blue Apple shirts on. I don't know, I think I said before, it was like 10 on each side, maybe more or less, I can't remember. But it was like, when you walked in, they was just like cheering and whistling and applauding. It was just like you won lotto just for walking in the building. And you're like, wow, this is weird.
Did it make you feel good though?
Maybe feel awkward, I think.
Oh, because you're like, I'm getting applauded for
I
not
was
doing
just
anything.
like, what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
well, nowhere else do you get that. Like walking into a shop. Imagine every time you walk into a shop, you got that.
Yeah.
Now I know it was just a grand opening or whatever, but it was a bit weird. But what that did do, though, and we were talking about this earlier, it's like it showed that they actually really thought about how to welcome people into their store, and that, you don't have that same experience now when you walk into an Apple store. But what you do, and you mentioned this, Tim, like there's always someone there at the front, when you first get there, welcoming you and trying to work out how to best help you,
yeah.
where to send you to get the help that you need. They really thought a lot about, it's not just walking in, it's the whole experience of being there.
I do remember hearing that with the Apple store that there was a lot of resistance. I think I read this in the Steve Jobs biography, and there was a lot of resistance to creating the Apple store. And then I can't remember who it was, but they presented it in a way of like we're going to make it like an experience like that. And it really, I think it really transformed how a lot of people did retail in the last 20 years, is that making it this seamless experience when you walk in. I think we seem to forget about it. I remember how wrapped people were with what an Apple store was like. You go in and you could use all the devices, and people are really helpful and they're really nice to you. They don't treat you like you're going to steal stuff and things like that. And I think it's interesting to see that the effort that you put into something like that can actually make people feel very welcome.
Yeah, because they took just those ideas of retail, but just turned it up to the max. I mean, you would hope that in any store you go into, you would be greeted. I mean, I remember working in retail while I was at uni, and you are trained to smile, make eye contact, say good day, like make people feel welcome. Is there anything I can help you with? No worries. If you need anything, just let me know. Just yell out. Like all of those kinds of things that you would do. And and maybe because I was trained in it and I worked in retail for a number of years while going through uni, I'm kind of now aware of that, hyper aware of it when I go into stores. And it's a massive difference between the stores you feel welcome in and those who you feel like you're a burden on their time. There's one particular store that I won't name, but we've joked as a staff team about, like, you walk in there and either it's impossible to find people or you're a massive imposition on them if you ask for help. It's like, oh, why are you here? Like, what are you doing? Like, how dare you interrupt my work in order to buy something of my produce? Like, even the checkout people can be rude at the front. And it's just like, you're running a business. But, so you notice whether you're welcomed or not into a space. And Apple took all of the best things. And again, it was kind of novel for us at the time. But just turned it all up to 11 and, tried to make it to the point of awkwardness of cheering people when they come in, which is, maybe we should do that in churches. That's our application point for today, is when a new person comes to church, woohoo,
here's a shirt, here's an umbrella. But there's even like things like, I was just up at the RMS, is that what we call it?
Oh, the Services New South Wales.
Yeah, whatever that is now. Yeah. And how that used to all be.
Government services for those who are listening from far away.
Up until recently, that you walk in and you'd have to press a button, get a ticket, whatever service it is that you want, you press the button, you get a ticket. Now I've noticed that they're actually having people standing there asking, what are you here for? Actually trying to make it a little bit more personal instead of just tap a screen.
Someone has done an amazing job with Services New South Wales
in
the last
absolutely.
5 years. I don't know who it is. Whoever has done it, who's been in charge of that particular area of government, has done an amazing job, I think.
I put a jokey complaint on Facebook a number of years ago because I had to renew my car insurance or something. I had to do something and it was in there, and took a book to while I wait.
Yeah, right.
So I walked in, was greeted, given a ticket, sat down, cracked open my book, thinking, this is great. Get half an hour of uninterrupted reading time. I was in and out the door within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And so I wrote this jokey complaint of stupid Services New South Wales. So I was supposed to get half an hour of uninterrupted reading time, and they were so efficient that I got in and out in 5 minutes. And
I want my 25 minutes.
I want my 25 minutes. But, I was expecting to wait, but it was like, for having experienced the old version where you do wait around for a while too, and really efficient service was amazing. Yeah.
I think there's also and I love stories of customer service. One of my favourite ones is, if you've ever seen Gary Vaynerchuk online, he used to run his father's wine business, and he's started up this thing of like a customer care department. Right. And so what he would do is, like, if someone bought like a pretty large order of wine, he'd get them to research them through all their social media. And one of these guys, they found out he was like a big supporter of the Chicago Bears, the NFL team, and just continually tweeted about their quarterback at the time, Jay Cutler. They're like, Jay Cutler, blah, blah. So he said, I want you to find a signed jersey of Jay Cutler and send it to him. So he paid for it, right? He didn't hear anything back. He's like, damn it, I thought I was going to get more business from this guy. A couple of months later, he gets this gigantic order for a wedding of wine, and he said, and they said, oh, what made you order so much? Like, how did you find out about it? He's like, oh, you sent my best friend or something, I can't remember who it was, a Jay Cutler signed jersey, and I thought, if that's how much you care about your customers, I'm going to order my wine from you.
Yeah.
So I think I love those kind of interesting stories that you can make that work. There's also something in customer service where you could actually make something bad for the customer and then solve the problem even better than the original problem that they had. So if they come in, like, let's say you spilled a drink or something, and then you give them not just a free drink, but you give them an opportunity to come back and get a discount or something else afterwards to say, we're really sorry about that. There's this opportunity here where you can make things not great and then make it even better. Now, hopefully we don't do that at church, but I think there's interesting things that we can learn from customer service like that.
Well, even I was just reflecting on the story that Gerald told us in the chip lunch, and that might still come out in a couple of weeks. But he shared this story about when he was relatively new to Australia as a uni student, in a McDonald's, got his burger, chips and drink, and on the way to the table, his drink spilled over the floor. And before he even really had a chance to do anything about it, the young guy from behind the service desk had already filled up a new drink and brought it to him. And it sticks in his mind now as it was like, it was my fault. I tripped over. I spilt my drink. It's on me. But it was just this very simple but quick act of the customer service person going, that's all right, I got this, and here's another one without any question. And so it stuck in his mind I felt, loved, keen, like welcomed into that restaurant, even just a small fast food example of having that experience.
I guess, and then, when people walk into church for the first time, that experience sticks with people for a long time, whether it's a negative or a positive, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
And so, if you have a bad experience, you can turn people off church, or that church in particular. It's a positive. It has a really lasting impact.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, I think that's interesting to think about.
Yeah. And thinking about a church example, I remember as a kid, so one of the things my dad was really strong on was we go to church every Sunday, even if we're on holidays.
Okay.
And so we went to some weird churches that, on holidays, he would just find a local church and he would say, not our home, it's not our regular, let's just go and find out. One of the churches we visited once on a Sunday, relatively small church, maybe 100 people-ish, so kind of everyone in the room knew each other. We were obviously the new people with a family of 5 suddenly walking in. And in the middle of the service, in the kind of like announcements time, they basically got us to stand up and applaud us. So it was kind of like the Apple experience. And again, kind of like your experience in the Apple Store, they meant it as a really beautiful, welcoming gesture. We felt super awkward.
Yeah.
I was like, that doesn't make us feel well. That makes us feel, I don't know.
On the outer exposed.
Exposed, so again, really well intentioned, but didn't land, interestingly. So there was that. As you think about how do we put some of these things into practice, thinking about, what is it actually like for the experience to be welcomed into the space?
Well, and the flip side, if you're unintentional in it, I was part of a church where, for the first part where we were down there, the welcoming wasn't an intentional thing. It was just meant to be this organic thing, so there was no real focus on it. And the amount of times I had conversations with people at the end of church who were new and say, g'day, whatever, welcome to church, nice to meet you. And they say, you're the first person that's spoken to me. I'm the pastor and I'm the first person that's spoken to you. You've been here before church, because people who are new, right, always there 15 minutes or so before.
Yes.
So because it's a new space, they want to understand what's going on, don't want to be late, whatever. So from 15 minutes before church, through church, and then to probably 10, 15 minutes after church, when I finally get to chat to them, I'm the first person. And that's kind of like, that's a little bit of a worry.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the things you're talking about there, it gives someone meaning, like whether it's customer service or being welcomed into a church, or even Gerald's story of being in McDonald's, it gives, it's like a dignity to say, like, we're really glad that you're here. Because if you could have an experience like the retail experience you're saying, Tim, of like, why are you even here? That makes you feel like less than, I suppose, isn't it? And I suppose this might not even be intentional in that, but it's the same when someone comes to church, is there's so many unknowns and so many unspoken agreements of how that particular church is happening and moving forward, just because of people who spend a lot of time there, that we then go, oh, we could be tempted to think, oh, that'll be the same. They'll just pick that up straight away. It's the same when you start a new job. It's like, I don't understand the culture here. Like a culture is just a learned set of behaviors. How do we understand the culture of when we come into something? So if we can say, if you are welcoming, or you could clean up someone's drink and you go, you matter to us, and the fact that you've even tried to come here, whatever that situation is, you matter to us. You're not just what is the right word? It's like you're not just part of like this rat race of just like you actually it's meaningful. So that's why we're going to talk about welcoming today, because welcoming is one of our service teams. We're getting through our mini series on different service teams. We're going to pack this particular episode with all of theology, strategy, practice into one, giving you lots of value if you're listening and watching. But just before we do that, a couple of Roman leaders from Asterix. Centurion Christmas bonus, Centurion Tremens Delirious, Centurion Gluteus Maximus, that's a pretty obvious one. This one's quite funny. Voluptuous Arteriosclerosis and Senda Victorious. Anyway.
And surplus dairy products.
I think that's my favourite one.
That was a good surplus dairy products. That's pretty good.
Yep.
Anyway, but let's start with theology in terms of welcoming. A big part of, I remember Lou, Stu's wife, Lou Crawshaw, was put in charge of welcoming when we first started Soul Revival Church. And she went to lots and lots of different churches to research how they did welcoming to inform how we did it. But I think the point that we always start with is the theology. And Joy, you helped Philfully came up with some verses. Let's chuck them out and throw them around and tell us like how do they influence the way that we approach welcoming?
Yeah, well, one of those verses that, so Lou still is our central coordinator of welcoming, and one of the verses that she uses and is really helpful is in Hebrews. And when we're in Hebrews, verses 1 to 3 of chapter 13 are really helpful, but verse 1 and 2 says, keep on loving one another as brothers and sisters. Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing so, some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it. And so this idea of, there's a few things going on there, but the way that we can love people as they come to our church for the first time, or the second time, or the third time, or the 100th time, is to actually show hospitality to people, actually make them feel welcomed in a warm, friendly way. As though, and one of the things we talk about too at Soul Revival is that we want to be a church that welcomes both regulars and irregulars. And so this isn't just the first time experience, but always wanting to be that loving and caring host, that when people walk in, that they feel like this is somewhere I could belong. I feel important. I feel valued. I feel like these people care. And the other thing in that is that it's not, the writer of Hebrews says it's not just to those that we know, it's to strangers. And so the fact that...
important distinction.
Yeah, the fact that it's not just about welcoming our friends every week, it's welcoming everybody who walks in, whether they're known or unknown. And, who knows who it could be that we're welcoming when they come in, as the writer of Hebrews says.
Because do you think... I'm wondering how you approach this theologically. Is that a person that's been to church or not comes as a new person to church? There's an element there of like God has put on their heart to go there. And I'm thinking, I wanted to see what you think about this. That how do you think we can respond to that going, well, God, it may have sent this person here and it's up to us to partner with him and welcome him into this particular church for whatever reason that God sent them. Yep. How do you see that? Does that fit in with the Hebrews verse, or not so much? Are there any other verses that kind of would play into that?
Oh, I think every person who comes onto any church Christian event, we've always got to be thinking that God's the one who is stirring in the hearts and minds of people to do anything. Even when you turn up to church on a Saturday night, right? Yeah. Why are you there? Well, it's because God is at work through His Spirit in your life, saying this is where I need to be. Again, Hebrews, don't give up the habit of meeting together. So it's the Spirit is prompting us to constantly meet together with God's people. And so as people come to church, we don't know what's going on in their life, but what we do know is that we can love them and support them, get to know them, and be friends with them, and most importantly, show Christ to them.
And the Spirit is prompting us to do that.
Well, Paul even says in what is it? What did I say before? Romans 12:13, we're to practice hospitality. Like it's not something that we just automatically do. It's something we're to keep working at.
Yeah.
And one of the things that the Spirit does is it helps us to work at that, to work at being loving, work at being kind, work at being generous with our time. And that's the thing about welcoming well, is it is costly, because it costs you time to go and sit with a stranger, to talk with a stranger, to say hello to a stranger, instead of maybe hanging out with your friends or whatever it might be.
Tim, you just said, when John mentioned that verse in terms of practicing hospitality. What's the difference, do you think, between being intentional and trying to be intentional regularly rather than just doing it as a one-off? Like, what do you hear in that you responded to in such a positive way?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm thinking particularly about practices. It's one of the things I want to bring out in the youth camp talks. I can't remember where I came across it, but it was very recently, thinking about the idea of the invitation into discipleship is one of continual practice. Like we have to keep practicing being a disciple.
Yeah.
We're not immediately changed into what we ought to be. We don't automatically discard everything we ought not to do. And also it's a relationship with Jesus. And so this idea of, sometimes some of them are, we talk about spiritual disciplines. I think that's kind of part of this practicing being a disciple. But it's all of these things that Paul and others talk about, putting on and putting off the different things, and Jesus saying, daily take up your cross and follow me. There's a rhythm and a regularity of the way that we are to act as disciples that I'm thinking of at the moment in this terms of we just keep practicing being disciples over and over again. And so that's what I think is probably where the enthusiastic came from.
Yeah.
But this idea of practicing hospitality, like we do have to practice it, as in we have to keep doing it, keep going over and over again. If we want to get better at it, then keep doing it.
Right.
We're probably more familiar with this in terms of sports coaching or in music skills, or maybe with cooking or things. Like if I want to get really good at making bread or this particular recipe or this particular thing, like I just keep practicing and not all of them. Sorry?
Got to put in the reps.
Put in the reps, that's right.
Is that how you're good at that banana bread that you make?
Yeah, well, actually that's just the Thermomix, but yeah. So
that's some good banana bread.
It is good banana bread, yeah. But it is just the repetition of these things. But, the banana bread, I make a banana bread every week for church. And it's the same recipe, and I basically know it off by heart. I can do it in my sleep now because it's practiced. But that came from having to follow the recipe exactly, measure it out, know exactly what I'm doing. Oh, what am I doing now? Oh, that's right. And all the timing and all those kinds of things. It's a simple example, but the welcoming culture at a church and individuals' particular practice at welcoming is a practice. It's something you can get better at. It's something you can keep on doing. And so I think that was kind of my enthusiasm for it was to let's keep practicing this as practicing hospitality, practice welcoming, which may also helpfully say to people, you're not going to be great at it every time.
Yep.
And that's okay.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with practice, right, is that sometimes you practice and it won't work. And then you keep practicing.
And you learn from it.
Yeah. And that's weird. I did this piece, like I'm playing piano, and I did this piece perfectly yesterday. Why can't I get it right today? That's okay. It's just part of the practice.
Yeah.
And welcoming, I really stuffed up that g'day to that person. I completely, stuffed up the conversation, or I greeted someone as if they were new, and they said, "Yeah, actually, I've been here for 3 years, every week, and we've had 6 conversations." You stuffed that one up, but and you got it right last week. You might get it right next week. That's okay.
Yeah.
And if we're all being graceful with each other, then hopefully we can laugh that off. And
Yeah.
yeah.
You have one of those classic things where you say, hello, how are you? And they say, good. And you go, oh, that's great, me too. And you're like, oh, no, you didn't ask the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Me too, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hey, how you going? Oh, well, like, remember how I told you that, you know, my great aunt died last week? Oh, yeah, sorry, no, I forgot.
Yeah.
There's also that Australian thing of like it's just a very like a informal way of greeting. You just go, how are you?
Yeah.
And everyone just says good.
Yeah.
Don't they?
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes you're not actually that good, but you're like, oh, is this the right time to open up to talk about something that I'm not really enjoying?
Well, it's really interesting. Like, you have those different people, and I can identify particular people at church that when I ask them how they're going, I know that their reaction is going to be genuine, because there are plenty of times they answer that question with, oh yeah, it's been a pretty hard week. Okay, do you want to sit down and talk about that? So there are particular people, and so when they say, oh, it's been a really good week, oh, great, thanks. It's like, oh, okay. Like, I know that that's genuine.
Yeah. Which is why it's probably helpful when we talk about welcoming at church. It's more than maybe the way that we welcome people is not asking that question in the hello that we normally do. You know, g'day, how you going?
We ask it flippantly.
Yes,
half the time.
Yeah, so maybe when we're welcoming people at church, we don't start off with that. We just say, "Hi, is this your first time here?" Or this, you know, there's some other way of bringing that in. So it makes this distinction between what greeting and welcoming is, for example.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because like when we bump into someone in supermarket or in the street or whatever else, we do exactly what you say. You know, we say, "G'day, how you going?"
It's a greeting.
You know, it's a greeting. We greet each other in the street.
Yep.
But when we welcome someone into our home, it's a very different thing. It's like, "Oh, hi, come on in." You know, the interaction is quite different. When we welcome at church, maybe our interaction in that space needs to be more than just the greeting in the street. And maybe that's part of, you know, when we don't welcome well, is we've moved from welcoming to greeting instead of welcoming.
So what's the reason for that, do you think?
It's easy.
It's easy to greet.
Easy to greet.
It's hard.
Anyone can say, "G'day, how you going? Good, how you going? Great." Off and you go.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like there's nothing stopping you from.
I get that all the time walking the dog. Like you walk past someone else with a dog in the other direction, and you have that, you know, the dogs sniff each other for 5 seconds, and then you're on.
Yeah.
And so the "G'day, how you going?" Yeah, good, thanks. In that moment is very different to opening your door to someone who's coming for dinner and saying, "Oh, g'day, how you going?" Yeah, good, thanks. I think the words may be the same, but what's actually different is you're inviting them into a space where you're about to sit down for a much longer conversation.
Yep.
So it's a greeting. You're greeting them at the door, but it becomes welcoming because of the expectation of what will follow.
Yes.
Whereas I, do not expect to have a deep and meaningful conversation with anyone else I pass walking the dog.
Yeah.
I expect to have that when I open the door, and I greet someone at the door, but the welcoming is the expectation of what's happening because of that moment and what we're about to enter into.
Yes.
And so, this ties in a lot with our conversations about third place and community and what are we expecting church to be. If it's a place of polite strangers, then it will only ever be greeting and it will never get to welcoming. But if it is a place of deep community, then you can greet someone at the door, but with the expectation that actually within this time together, hopefully a long time together, hours together, we will all have maybe different conversations and we will all feel like we have had meaningful time together with others in community.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, that the Hebrews 13 is talking about. It's not saying that there are some people who will do the welcoming. There's not some people who offer hospitality, but it's the role of all Christians. And so when someone comes into church, yes, there's the people on the roster to do welcoming, but that's not where welcoming stops. It's got I think the idea of the third place is that everybody there is actually part of the welcoming. Everyone of church who goes there regularly at church is part of the welcoming team.
Mm.
So the idea is that we're a welcoming church, so everybody is on high alert for someone new, so I can go and say hello and make them feel part of
Yes.
what I'm a part of.
Yeah.
And so it's like that ownership of the space.
Yeah.
And I think that idea of welcoming someone into the home is like that. You know, the whole family welcomes someone in. It's not just the mum or the dad.
Yeah.
Everyone is welcoming them in.
Yeah.
It's like we've got mum and dad at the door welcoming people as they come in, and then we as the kids are kind of like going, all right, we need to make sure that they know where the bathroom is and they know this, that and the other.
Yeah. And this is, we were chatting about this just before we started recording, this idea of guest and host dynamic. And so if you're the host, it's your responsibility to greet people, welcome people, show them around, make them feel comfortable, and kind of make sure the conversation is flowing. Like if you've got a number of people over your house, you're just kind of making sure that everything's going all right because you're the host. It's your responsibility.
Yeah.
The guests do not have that responsibility and they don't expect to.
Yeah.
So if I'm over at someone else's house and the doorbell rings, unless for some reason the host has ducked off, I don't go and open the door, and I'm not expected to. It'd be weird if we're all over at Joel's house. Joel's been the host. The doorbell rings and I go in and open it and go, "Hey everyone, welcome to Joel's house. Come on in, let me show you around." Like it would be, it would either be weird, or it would show that Joel and I have a very deep, particular relationship where our families are so intertwined that it was almost as if this was my space.
Yes.
And so I have taken almost a host type role. So now why this applies to church is, again, when the congregation, who do they feel like?
Yeah.
Do the congregation members feel like guests or do they feel like hosts? Yeah. If they feel like guests, they're not going to have the welcoming mindset in their mind. They're going to go, yep, that's the welcomer's job and the pastor's job. I just get to sit here and eat the nibblies, know where the bathroom is, but it's not my job to show anyone else around.
Yeah.
It's not my job to make anyone else feel welcome because I am a guest, just like the newcomer is a guest, just like the person who's been here for 50 years is a guest. If we're all guests, we don't carry that responsibility with us.
Yeah.
And so part of, I think, a good, healthy, welcoming church is where the congregation members can feel like hosts. This is also their space. And so when a new person comes, the whole church goes, "Oh, new person, do you want to go?" No, let me. We're going to go and pull that person onto our table, and we're going to have dinner with them, or we're going to pull them into our, our pew or our chairs, and try and get to know. Like when the whole congregation feels like hosts, then when the genuine guest comes who hasn't been before and is checking out church, they've got a whole congregation full of people who are, chomping at the bit to look after them, rather than sit beside them going, "Oh, well, I hope someone talks to them because that would be weird, wouldn't it?" But it's not me because I'm just a guest just like them. Like that, that's where the welcoming culture hasn't been fostered well.
That is interesting, because like you just talk about, when you're walking the dog, saying g'day to people as you're going past. I think that's just a common thing, isn't it? Like I remember going on hikes with the kids hate when I do this. Whenever we're walking, every person that walks past, I'm saying g'day, g'day, g'day.
Or morning or whatever.
Well, I get in trouble for being like the most Aussie bogan person when we're in New Zealand and we were doing these beautiful hikes, and everyone that walks past is like, "G'day, how you going? G'day, how you going?" Sounded like Carl Barron or something. And there's like kids are going, "Dad, do you have to do that every time?" But it's funny we do that, but then when we get to church, like what you said, we go, "Oh, that's someone else's job." Even just to say g'day to someone.
Or if we walk past them, I say, "Oh, g'day, how you going?"
Yeah.
Like if we're in the coffee line together, or if we're in the food line together, or if we're walking past each other in and out of church, or
I think even that's rare.
Oh, interesting.
Sometimes
Okay.
I think that doesn't always happen either, and I think it's because, like we said, I think we have that thought as, I hope someone else does it.
Yeah.
I hope someone else I'm not going to, which is that sort of 1 Peter 4 or somewhere where it's like we're to not grumble when we do when we welcome someone in, and I think there's a little bit of grumbling of like, well, I don't want to give up time, because what if I do ask, "Hey, how you going?" and they do tell me.
Yes,
I
agree.
I don't want the answer.
I think I do that too.
I just want the
sometimes.
Yeah. And there are going to be particular people in every congregation, and there's plenty of people in our communities who, because of might be socially awkward or might be other reasons, who are hard to talk to, who might overshare with you, who might actually
take you literally,
and actually pour out, in a way like. And I think part of being a welcoming church is actually having the space and the capacity to, if you meant it as a throwaway line, they start being genuine, and you go, oh, okay, I need to click into genuine mode here, and I need to sit down with this person, and pulling up the people if necessary, and all those kinds of things. But it's part of being a welcoming church for all people. Those who know how to play the social game and those who don't know how to play the social game. Both need to feel welcome in the space.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to, there are people who do say g'day as they walking past.
No.
Yes.
I think just like listening to what you guys are talking about, it's interesting that like talking about if we have the intention to practice hospitality, it's the same as having the expectation of people coming over. Is that if we have the expectation, the intention to welcome people, then we will do it more often. But if we are guests, we have that vibe of, I'm just here to take whatever I can get from church and leave, then you're going to behave like guests all the time. So you've got to, if you invite someone over to your house, they're not going to come over and go, I'm going to take everything I can.
Yeah.
However,
start pocketing the silverware.
It's very nice that you called it silverware. I don't know. Very, very classy.
I've been to your place.
I don't know if you
I've been to your front door. I haven't been welcomed in.
That's because you were a guest.
Well, Tim wasn't there to welcome you.
I wasn't there to welcome you.
But I think it's a really helpful way to look at it. If we're the Bible, Word of God is commanding us to practice hospitality to people who we may not know. If we're only acting like guests and we only see this like I'm only here for an hour and then I get out, what would be the point of welcoming someone? I think that's the other thing is that.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, again, like we talked about, if church is an event, this is the other thing.
An event such cinema kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't welcome anyone else while I'm at the cinema. Like
you don't?
I'm rude like that. Like if you have to walk past someone, or you have to shuffle past someone in the aisle, you say, "Oh, it's g'day, sorry." There is no one else in the cinema or the theatre or the sports stadium that I expect to have a deep, meaningful, intentional conversation with. Because again, it hasn't been my job. There are people who are paid to check tickets. There are concierges at different events who have different roles and responsibilities. They're the one, because it's their space.
And their job, isn't it?
And it's their job. But the cinema, the theatre, the sports ground is an event that I am a guest at, like I'm an attendee at. And so, of course, it's not my responsibility to welcome the person who's sitting next to me and say good day and start having a friendly conversation with during halftime. Like it's weird to go beyond the social game of politeness. And again, so if we're coming to church with the expectation that church is an event, I come in, I go out, I have a nice bicky and a coffee, I chat to a couple of people that I know, and most of the people are polite strangers. Again, I'm not going to be welcoming in that deep relational community type way, because it's not really my space. It's an event that I come to. I get what I need out of it. So again, turning all around and having more people, and this is the regular irregulars idea, but part of what Oldenburg is trying to point out there about the idea of regulars is it's not just that you're regular in the space, it's the regularity builds in your ownership of the space as well. So there's a depth to that regularity that says this is my space. It would be maybe getting a little bit closer would be having your season tickets and you're surrounded by people who also have season tickets. Your regularity, their regularity, actually you probably would start to get a little deeper. You would start to get to know them a bit more. If you're all, the crowd around you are all regular, you're there at every game, always in the same seats. You probably would over time get to know them. How much more so at church when, again, we're not attendees, we're not guests, we're the body of Christ meeting together corporately in community. So of course we're going to, again, turn that up to 11. and work really hard at making people feel that this is a space that they are welcomed into and belong in.
So important. So I'm wondering, also it talks about, this is my kind of last question around the theology. It talks about hospitality, but what is hospitality? So you talk about people being polite strangers. One thing I notice, because my dad lives in the US, I've spent some time over there. We spent 2 weeks over when he lived in California. And what I noticed was that people in the US are very, very good at small talk.
Okay.
So not in depth, but small talk about things. And the thing that my dad always tells me is he does a fair bit of flying. He's like, when he gets on his flight, he's like, I put my over-ear headphones on straight away because I don't want people talking to me. Because people in America will speak to you sometimes for an entire flight and go, oh, and by the way, my name's Bob, and then just leave and never see you again. And I think one of the reasons that part of Dad's like, it's like, what commitment, like level of commitment am I going to have to do in regards to this relationship with this person? Is that maybe for him is like, well, if I build a relationship, then I have to then maintain it.
Oh, interesting.
Whereas it seems that maybe the culture in the US, maybe less so, is I can engage in a relationship or a surface level relationship and then just leave and it's not important to me again. And I would wonder if sometimes that's related to, like, even in the US, how there's a culture of you go to a different city to attend colleges and things like that. And I think in Australia it's very different anyway. My question is, I wonder if their definition of hospitality is different to our definition in Australia, but also what the Bible is saying about hospitality. We looked up the etymology of hospitality, and it's
that's a big word.
Well, apparently
is that one
it
of
comes
the Roman soldiers?
well, it comes from medieval Latin hospitabilis, yeah. Which is really,
He was a centurion in Asterix.
In Asterix, for sure.
Yeah, he was the very nice one.
But it merged with a French word, something in terms of like welcoming a stranger or guest. So then in 16th century, at some point it became hospitable. So to be hospitable is to welcome someone into your space, not even a home. But it would include strangers in that. So I'm wondering are we only going to be hospitable to people we care about or people we know? Like, what is the definition, Joy, of what it says to be hospitable, show hospitality when we're reading those Bible verses?
I think all those things you just said, it's that welcoming people in, both known and unknown. And the Bible talks often about showing that in particular, not just to the family or the people of God, but also strangers. And so there's definitely a both going on here. And hospitality is a tricky word because it has the welcoming aspect of it. And then you can use this word again when we actually look at the hospitality team, because it's also about meals and sharing those sorts of things with each other. And so I guess we're kind of looking at one aspect of the word hospitality. And so, that idea of making, drawing people in, welcoming people in so they feel warm. There's a warm welcome where they feel included, that they feel like this is somewhere that they belong, that they're cared for, and that it feels, I guess, as comfortable as you can when you're new.
Feels homely, I suppose.
Yeah, homely. And I guess that's the nature of a third space as well, isn't it? It's like it's meant to feel like it's the place that you would rather be, or that you'd like to be outside of those other. And so how we do that as a church. And the other thing you mentioned about, is it just to people we know or we care about? I think yes to people we know, and yes to people we care about. The question is, who is it that we're to care about?
Okay.
We're to care about everybody.
Yeah.
As Christians, we're told to love our neighbours as ourselves. And who's our neighbour? Everybody. Right? So I think shifting our focus, that a new person when they come to church is someone we care about. They're not just a new person, they are someone we care about. They're our neighbour, and we are to love our neighbour. How do we love our neighbour? We make them feel like they are welcomed in the space that we're in, understanding that how awkward it is to walk into a space for the first time. It's not yours, it's unfamiliar. We talked earlier about, people coming to church for the first time often come early because of the unknowns. How do we love people when they come? How do we make them feel part of and feel that experience that we have when we go to church?
And help them move from those unknowns to knowns
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
just even simple things like we go to church and we go, I need to go to the bathroom. I'll go to the bathroom. I know where it is.
Yep.
New person comes to church and goes, I need to go to the bathroom. I don't want to ask because
Yeah.
it might be rude, but no one's told me where it is.
Yep.
You know, like that's a very awkward. Like even when I go out to a restaurant, which is very rare, asking where the bathroom is, I kind of feel a little bit like I should be asking you for food, but I need to go.
Yeah.
So like, yeah.
Mm.
I was, as you were speaking there, Jai, it reminded me of the verse in 1 Corinthians where Paul talks about the Lord's Supper, and that it seems like there's this special group that gets to eat beforehand, and then the other supposed
Drink all the wine,
and then all the riffraff are coming later. Oh, that we'll invite them in, and they can have the leftovers kind of thing. And that's why Paul's rebuking them, I suppose. He's saying you're not being welcoming to new people who are coming to the church. You want people to know Christ. Then having a special gathering beforehand, and then saying, "Oh, that was the exclusive gathering. You can come to that later."
Yeah.
I suppose I wonder that might be a way of bridging those knowns and unknowns, is doing simple things like, and we're delving into practice a little bit here, but just pointing out, the bathroom's over here if someone's new, and the pathways that we kind of have for people that are new is that the welcoming team trains in. As I said, we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
So let's move to strategy. Tim, you love talking about strategy, as we all do on this podcast. The strategy of the welcoming team. What do you think stands out for you in terms of strategy? I mean, I just mentioned meals there. I think meals is a huge part of, because even if, whether it's before or after a gathering at Soul Revival, you can sit down and spend some time with someone rather than the quick team biscuit, like you said, and then just head off to our everyday lives again. There's an opportunity there to actually create lasting connections and also to welcome someone in. And just, have you been to a church before? Or what do you think about this as a church? Or where did you come from and what's your story? Like, there's all those elements about, you can share that over a meal a lot of the time. It's probably the easiest way to do it a lot of the time. Do you want to speak to that in terms of meals, but also anything else for strategy that you really love when it comes to welcoming?
Yeah, I mean, strategy, we always come back to our strategy being we want all of our ministries to be long-term, low-key and relational. And so they're our sort of guiding principles. And so what does it mean for welcoming to be long-term, low-key, relational? I mean, the long-term piece is we're sort of welcoming people into a reality where we do have long-term relationships. Now, that can be quite daunting for people. It can go like you come into a space and you have that feeling, everyone knows everyone else here and I'm the only one who doesn't. So that can be really scary for people. It can be really disconcerting. It can often feel unwelcoming for someone if everyone feels like they know each other. And so part of the welcoming experience is to bring people into that journey and into that relationship and start to help them to feel that they can get to know people as well. The other thing about being low-key and relational is, again, the meals are really significant because it does part of our welcoming is we're welcoming into the community, not an event. So that, again, is really going to be key. And what that means is that the meals, sitting down with someone for a meal really does kind of, it forces you to go past that, small talk stage. And so you sort of have to get deep, you have to get to know someone. And what we continually hear from people is that those who have chosen to stay and stick around for a meal get welcomed into the community and start to build those relationships a lot faster than they have experienced at other churches. Which makes sense just from a pure, thing about time. Like if you're being welcomed over a 15-minute tea and bicky after church or a hour and a half meal, you've already, what's that? 6 times the amount of time that you've spent talking with that person. So you've got 6 times the value, which is, and a compound. So it's not just 6 weeks of talking to the same person. It's actually worth, 10, 20 weeks of talking with these couple of people around a meal because of the depth of relationship, and you haven't had to start again every single time. So purely from that point of view, actually inviting people into a community and helping them find their place and knit into relationships is going to be really, really key into the way that we do this well. And so you can kind of see again how all of our different ministries are feeding off each other. The other insightful thing that we sort of came up with through conversation in the last series about communications is that real emphasis on we want to bring people, like church is where the action is. And so our time together is where the action is. And so what am I thinking of here? I was thinking about a person I knew who was looking for a new church. And they went to visit one church and they got greeted at the door. G'day, yeah, that was great. Here we go. Let's help you find a seat. That was lovely. And then during the service and then afterwards, it was, if you're new, we want to invite you into this secret small room over to the side so that we can particularly greet you. And so the day that my friend went, her and her husband went into this side room to be especially welcomed. And
Antechamber.
Sorry?
The ante-room.
Yeah. While everyone else went out to do coffee and biscuits and morning tea. And she kind of thought, okay, what are they trying to do? Like, what's the best possible scenario? What they're trying to do is particularly identify and get to know the newcomers. And so after a while, and it was an awkward while, she said it was because all these new people, none of them know each other. They're all kind of standing around together going, so I guess you're new. Yeah, me too.
What brings you here?
Yeah, what brings you here? So she said that was kind of awkward. And eventually the minister turned up and then started to get to know them and did a little bit of, hey, my name's so-and-so. So best version of this is the senior minister wants to get to know these people and say good day and to say welcome, to make them feel special, that they've got a particular attention of the senior minister, which can sometimes be hard, particularly in a large church. You can feel like you never get to know the minister. So that they were trying to make them feel special. She said that the downside for her was she was actually missing what church was actually doing. What the church had gone on to do was to have conversation, community with each other out with morning tea.
Yeah.
And so what they were invited into was a special get to know you with the minister. What they weren't being invited into was the life of the community.
Yeah. Right.
And so that was on my mind as I think about the way that if our strategy is long-term, low-key relational, built around these practices of third place and community, then we're not going to invite, like our welcoming is not going to pull people away from that in order to get to know them. It's going to pull them into that to get to know them and to help them to see and share those kinds of things. So just like last time, we were talking about how all of your communications ministry is trying to draw people into the life of the community. Yeah. It's the same with the welcoming. Yeah. The welcoming is trying to draw people into the life of community. And so therefore it's going to be the welcomers at the door, the greeters, the ones who actually have the particular role that on the roster this week, helping get those people through the door, get to know them a little bit in order to help pass them on to someone else who can continue that, draw them in further and further. And so there's this, sort of geographic, movement further into the church, but it's also representative further into the community as well. And so trying to do that really, really well and to have the whole church together in doing that. And then I guess the other piece that I think about low key, we don't do name tags, for example, and some people will get frustrated with that. Oh, what if I forget people's names? But again, we wanted to be low key and relational with each other, trying to normalise that it's okay if you've forgotten people's names, but also I've heard from other people's experiences, sometimes like everyone gets a printed name tag or everyone has their badge that they wear, and then you know who the newbie is because they've got a little Sharpie sticker on there. Like,
that one's printed, yeah.
Yeah, which can feel like my experience on the holidays, where it's kind of like, oh, look, everyone, the new kid. And it can be a little bit, whereas no one does. The downside is people can fall through the cracks because you don't know who's new. And you lose people's names. So there is a downside to that we're bearing the cost of. Hopefully the upside is that we're expressing low-key relational discipleship. Yeah. and that enables everyone to sort of feel, there's a leveling aspect of there. There aren't the people that have the permanent badges, the people who have the sticker badges, and the people who have the Sharpie written on their, like on a piece of paper. That creates a hierarchy. Whereas again, a key thing of third place is leveling. And so everyone, it doesn't matter who you are, how long you've been here, whether you're an executive team or whether you're a parish councillor, like actually no one knows at that point because everyone is leveling together. So that'll be some of our sort of strategy turned practice that we think we notice.
That's helpful. The only one that I wanted to hit on there for you, Jai, is the come, stay, grow kind of idea that we have in terms of strategy, which I think Tim has touched on a fair bit, but you don't want to explain that. It's especially connected to the welcoming team of that. You see that as new people come to the church, and then we want them to stay, and then we want them to grow. But do you want to give us the more detailed details of that?
Again, this is Lou's done so much work in this and trying to basically taking what Tim's just said and try to simplify it down into those three things of come, stay, grow. And it's beautiful and simple, but really helpful. And so I think Lou's done a fantastic job in doing this, and she's taken the idea of the first step there of come is that when someone comes for the first time, knowing that when they come for the first time, it might not be their first interaction with our church, because it might have been through the website.
Often is,
or it might have been through social media or something like that. But what it is the first human interaction.
Right.
The first human contact that's made when they first come to church. And so for our welcoming team to be mindful of that. And so therefore, making sure our welcomers have got our culture is really helpful in all that. And part of that culture is then when someone comes, it's not just saying, "Oh, it's great that you're here. Off you go into church," but it's making them, as we've been saying, you're making them feel part of church, but then connecting them with someone. So we're not just welcoming them and then letting them go. I welcome someone in, and I was like, "Oh, there's someone who likes Tintin. I know Tim loves that. I'm going to go and connect. I'm going to go and say, hey, Tim, this is so and so. He was telling me he's got all the Tintin comic books. And all of a sudden it's like, cool. I'm going to leave you guys, and I'm going to go back and continue. It's like part of that. The kind of stage is actually connecting people intentionally into our church, and there might not be things where people have got things in common. It might just be like, here's a dude, I'll bring him over to this dude, or there's a lady here, I'll connect her with one of our wonderful women at church, those sorts of things. And so it's not just a hi, off you go. And then the idea of, I said earlier, I think that the welcome is not just the first time someone comes, it's actually every time. And in particular, in that first sort of 6-month period of someone coming, there's trying to work out how to help someone stay in that next bit. So what we're trying to do is not just connect them up with people, but connect them up with other service teams, connect them up with community groups so they can do Bible study, trying to find ways for them to really kind of embed and be part of our community and feel like it's theirs. In those ways. And one of the great ways to feel like you belong is to serve alongside someone, talk about swinging on a tea towel, like the conversations you have when you're cleaning up, it's amazing, right? And so, in that stage, it's actually kind of that embedding time. And in that point too is when we do our newish, which I guess is the later on version of taking them to a secret room. And but it's, our newish is we meet at one of the pastor's house, the pastors of that gathering, and our senior pastor Stu and his wife Lou, who is the welcome extraordinaire, sit down and go through who we are, our history, what we're about, go through our website and hits all those topics that might make people want to go, well, maybe this isn't the church for me, or maybe this is the church for me.
Like theological convictions.
It's like, where do we sit on women preaching? Where do we sit on baptism, and a whole bunch of other things that sometimes people bring up. And it's good to get that out in the air, open in the air early. Okay, I'm got your problem now. I can't talk. So that they're not locked in for a year and a half, 2 years, and then go, oh, I never knew.
Frustrated by it.
And so they would come, we would stay, and then the idea of growing is that we're connected into service team, connected into community group, connected into church, and growing spiritually. And it's interesting as we go through those steps, it's almost a cycle of someone comes, they connect, they grow, and then as that happens, we see new people wanting to come in and go through. So it's this circle of growth in the church. It's not just growing people coming, but growing people in their commitment to church, in their faithfulness to Christ, and their willingness to serve and then serve others.
And all that plays into the fact, I suppose, of eventually wanting them to take the regularity that Tim talked about, would create ownership, which then is increasing the welcoming culture. So it is that cyclical nature that you're talking about. That's what we're aiming for.
Yeah.
Tim, do you want to speak just one more element in terms of the strategy, is the intergenerational piece of that? So sometimes I think of a family coming, and a lot of people make a decision about what church they go to in regards to what is there for their kids.
Yep.
Which I'm always fascinated to understand, because it's like, I think you have to make that, I feel like you'd have to make that decision based on two different things, not just your children, but also like, how are you growing as a Christian yourself? Because that's going to influence how your kids are growing as Christians as well. But how do you see that in terms of welcoming into and being intergenerational? Like, and it's not just people with families. It could be someone in their 20s, or it could be someone in their 80s, or in between, in their 50s, wherever you want us to land.
Yeah.
In terms of welcoming, though, I think some people might struggle to go, we'll just wait till someone of a different generation comes. But how could we be maybe intentional about that intergenerational intergenerational strategy when we're welcoming people?
I'll split it in two. Like, I think there is there is the children's ministry part of that, which is, if a family comes, particularly if they are from church or have some church experience, they probably are asking, what's your children's ministry like? And so part of our welcoming, and part of the things we want to do really well is, and equip the welcomers to do, is to be able to explain how children's ministry runs, who's in charge, if it's a gathering that I'm regularly at, to introduce me to those people, if not key leaders or gathering coordinators, so that they do feel that there is, again, parents want to know that children's ministry is competently run, that they can trust the leaders, that it's a safe space for their kids, that their kids are going to enjoy it, hopefully learn something, have a community of peers to be around. So there is a children's ministry aspect of welcoming, where parents who are particularly looking for those kind of things, that we can communicate those things. And depending on how much church experience they have, we might be able to explain, go a little bit deeper into our thinking of why we do teaching and chill and all those kinds of details that we've talked about before. So that's one aspect. And then to put that in the larger picture of intergenerational, again, firstly, we want to, we're aspirationally intergenerational, all age, all stage, across all of our gatherings, which means that we have children's ministry and children's ministry leaders across all of our gatherings. Some are more aspirational than others. Some are really healthy. And so, but what we really want to communicate is this gathering has something, like has what you're looking for. And let me also expand your horizons of what you are actually looking for, and tell you what you may be looking for, and what, to give you more than that. So I remember there's a great paper by Timothy Paul Jones, friend of the podcast, who writes about family ministry and intergenerational ministry, and he talks about the family who comes to your church, and they're asking, what have you got for my kids? The answer they're looking for is programs. That's the answer they're looking for. What programs do you have for my kids?
Okay.
I've got this program. I've got a Friday night kids club. I've got a Sunday morning this. I've got, blah, blah, blah. That's the answer they're looking for. The answer that we might be able to provide, which goes beyond what they're looking for, is actually, we've got this. We've got this community. We've got a community full of all age, all stage that we are inviting you and your children to grow up into. that goes far beyond the details of a program. Yeah, there's a program, there's a postcard. Pick up the postcard if you want the details. Let me tell you about our community. Let me tell you about why it matters that we have, yes, a couple of peers for your kids. There's a few other 7-year-old boys. Your 7-year-old boy will get in well with those. You got a 10-year-old daughter. Great. Here are the 9 to 12-year-old girls who are in this group. They are super welcoming. Let me introduce you to some of them. And also let me introduce you to the 80-year-old, the 60-year-old, the 40-year-old, the 10-year-old, the 12-year-old. Let me show you why it matters that this intergenerational community is also good for you and good for your family. And again, there are going to be different people who have different experiences of church, different capacity, like Stu talks about pioneers and settlers. You know, for some of our gatherings, particularly 2 of our small ones on Sunday, Cronulla and Yarrawarra, it really takes a pioneering family to say, yeah, I'm excited about this. I might be the only one. And we've got a great pioneering family at Cronulla. It would be a lot easier for their kids if they came to another service where there were more peers. But they have bought into the pioneering spirit of Cronulla and like, no, we're here. And if we're the only family, we're praying for more families. I know I'm praying for more families. Jai and Josh are praying for more families. At this stage, that prayer has gone unanswered. But they are dedicated to being welcomers in that space for the next family who comes. There are other going to be families whose capacity as a family and whose spiritual maturity is going to be such that they're more settling, and that's okay. In which case they might come past, and we've had families come through Yarrawarra and land at Kirrawee. And it's like, okay, that's all right. Let's work out how we can best serve you here. But still communicate to them that the intergenerational church, the all age, all stageness of this church is a key part of what will actually help your child learn about Jesus, know Jesus, and also stay in Jesus long term. And this is what we're trying to communicate to you. So now, again, long-term, low-key relational, that might happen over many weeks. It might be a very long lunch or a very long dinner with someone to try and communicate that. It might be their 2nd, 3rd, 4th visit. But they're the kind of things that, in terms of this whole welcoming culture, that we want to try and communicate that get them to that strategy.
Yeah, no, I really like that. And so then I suppose it's like, what do we do as a practice? Like, how does all these things that we do? And we've kind of touched on a few different elements, especially Jai. I like the one that I observe Lou in particular doing on a Saturday night sometimes at Kirrawee, is that someone new will arrive and she'll talk to them for a short amount of time, but then she will lead them further into the church. And often we're having, a lot of people are having coffee or just standing around chatting, and she'll lead them to someone that she thinks would be appropriate to talk to them. And I think that's a really, really cool way of, kind of similar to what we talked about with arts and communications, is leading the whole church in a greater reality of that you can be welcomers. So we're all welcomers, but we're just the leaders of the kind of welcoming culture. But
I was going to say, just to pick up on that, the other thing that Lou does really well is on Saturday night, so people come between that 5:30 and then go straight into the gathering.
Yes.
But one of the things that Lou's really good at is, as we sort of break for dinner, to then come and have, she's already kind of eyeballed a few people. And I've had this happen to me, that she'll come up and she'll say, oh, Tim, so-and-so here is visiting from such and such. Can you go and have dinner with them?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, absolutely. So because she's done welcoming, she's got running through her head, here are all the new people. And she's actually had a whole gathering to think through and look around, who am I going to partner them up with so that they can have the best possible dinner experience from a welcoming point of view. And so that's another great thing, really practically, that she's doing in that moment, and is training others to do.
And in addition to that, we have a Saturday night at Kirrawee leaders chat on our through Messenger.
Right.
But then when someone comes and is new, usually one of our welcomers can actually put in there, hey, I just chatted to this person. They're from here. This is what they're
now really into the secret sauce.
This is what they're wearing. And it's like a number of people will go and say hello to them now. This is we've only really started it in the last 6 months, but I think it's especially shout out to Ange, who's been doing that. It's a really good way, a good practical way of going, let's just, so it's kind of leveraging technology, but also to still do that low key, long term. Like you can just go up and say, oh, hi, it's nice to meet you kind of thing.
Which is also slightly less awkward than getting to stand up And so, all right, everyone look, like here he
applaud
is.
them.
Here he is. Here they are.
is.
They're new. Remember, he's wearing the yellow jersey. You know, go talk to him afterwards.
Yeah, that's that's not how I would do that. just expose someone and look at that person.
But it's good that you're utilizing technology and you're doing it in such a way that actually maximizes the benefit of that. And Saturday night is large for us, 120, 140 maybe adults in the space. It's easy to lose new people in that.
Yeah.
And so utilizing those types of things is really good. Whereas if someone turns up to Cronulla where it's about 30 people, 35 to 40 people, the new person's obvious. And so everyone is already locked in. Yeah. Like, here's a new person we need to greet.
Yeah.
Talking more about practices, Jai, what about one of the things that kind of comes from welcoming churches is follow-up and finding out where those people are at and also like getting them to come back. I know you've mentioned newish before, which I think is a really great way of we invite people to come and chat through what our church is and the life of the church looks like. But how would the welcoming team determine what follow-up is at Soul Revival?
Yeah. Well, part of that low-key kind of nature of what we do is that we don't, as soon as someone gets there for the first time, we don't go, hey, what's your email, what's your phone number? So some churches are very keen to get that stuff down. We've got a book, people want to put their number in there if they want to, if they want to sign up for Church Week, which is our church management stuff, and get all that information they can. But it's usually when people come is we just welcome them. We be nice. We just want to be friends with them, rather than give us your details so we can contact you during the week kind of scenario. Now, what that means is, as Tim kind of hit on before, it means some people come and then don't come back again, but we actually find more people come back again because we've actually treated them like people, not like numbers for our growth.
Yeah, it's that customer service argument we're saying again.
Yeah. So basically we love them into wanting to come back again in a good way. And so basically what we would, the aim is for them to get to a point where they're like, I want to give you my email so you can contact me about Newish, or I want to give you my email so you can put me down for the newsletter, or you can contact me about this, that and the other, rather than having to ask for it, I guess.
So asking feels like you're taking something from them,
yeah,
doesn't it? Right.
Yeah.
If you're not taking something from the first time they come in, it feels like almost you've given to them in a sense.
Yeah.
Or you're trying to serve them.
Yeah.
So then they're more willing to come back because they're like, I wasn't being treated like something's being drained out of me straight away.
Yeah. And also a lot of people, and sometimes we get this a bit at Cronulla in particular, we get some people turning up going, I'm looking around for churches. I'm here this week. I'm going somewhere else next week. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, we're not going to chase you up because obviously you're on, but while you're here, we're going to love you. You know what I mean? And we've actually had people come back because of that, where other churches have got their numbers and contacted them during the week, and they're like, oh man, just calm down. I was just checking it out, and also for people who are not used to church, getting follow-up straight afterwards is not always what they're up for either.
Yeah, it's almost like you're being sold to.
Yeah,
like a sales technique. Almost.
Totally, yeah. It was like, oh, great, now I've got to screen my calls or, whatever else because, I gave my number to that person, that weird person at the front of that church.
And, it's you get this with emails now. You buy something from a site and then suddenly you're flooded with emails like, oh, how'd you like the experience? What do you think? Give us 5 stars. Or, is there anything else we can help you with? Or so. And again, best case scenario, they're trying to, get more of your business. They want you to feel welcomed. But, for the ones that were just like, I just need this item and I don't intend to shop with you regularly. It's a little bit frustrating. Yeah. And you feel put upon. Yeah.
Now, there's some people who will come first time and they will willingly say, hey, here's my number, or the conversation with someone might move to a point where it's like, hey, it'd be great to catch up or make contact during the week. So it's not saying you have to get their number or not get their number. I guess the way that we go about that is relational. Like it's all about how the relationship it goes from the beginning. Like sometimes is just a natural kind of thing, and other times it's like, it's okay. Or and so that kind of like post first visit follow up is a fluid thing. It's very relational. And
go off what they're giving.
Yeah. And then, but it's being mindful of the person, and Lou's good at this, and actually all of our workers are really good at this, is making, whether it's a mental note, a note on their phone or on a piece of paper or whatever, of who that new person is that's come. So when they come next week or the week after, they're like, oh, it's great to have you back. And this is kind of the way that we do welcoming is the welcoming team is not big, which can seem like, oh, well, that means I'm on too much. But there is something important about being on regularly, so the new people.
So and you're again.
Yeah, but also not just that you know the new people, but the new people, when they walk in, see someone familiar every time.
Right, yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And so there's something really helpful in that. So it makes the welcoming a more of a time-consuming service team and role, but it's for a reason.
Yeah.
And a really helpful one, so that our welcomers are looking out for people coming back, and constantly doing that constantly as they are doing that, working out who to plug them in, who to connect them up with, how to integrate them into the life of the church. So that basically there's like, our welcomers are like, this is home for me and I want this to be home for you. How can I make that happen?
I really love that idea of structuring it in a way for new people to come, that they'll soon see someone they've already just had, but this very little part of a relationship has been established already. So instead of going to a church where it's a new person all the time, there's this kind of just coming back a little bit back to the original relationship that the first person they met when they walked into church was probably someone on the welcoming team, or someone that said hello and chatted to them for no more than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But then if you're building that up, like you're saying with relationships, Tim, of it compounds. So even in that tiny little part of it, making sure that there's the same welcomer there pretty regularly, that will compound over time, so they do feel more welcome. Like, oh, I know this person. And then as that process, like we said, of even the first 5 minutes they talk to the welcomers, but then the welcomers help them build that little bit of a relationship with someone else, so that continues to compound as well. So it makes it a lot easier process for them and more organic. Yeah,
well, they become the bridge for those people who come new. It's I like to have, when we go for ice cream on Sunday nights after church, always have vanilla on the base and then flavours on top. Becomes the vanilla that kind of brings it all together.
It's a lot of ice cream, by the way.
Wow.
That's a good way to describe our community.
Yeah. A lot of ice cream.
A lot of flavours.
Yeah.
Any more practices we should hit on before? I've got one more question about practice before. Anyone, can you think of anything else?
Oh, I can think of lots, but...
Okay. Well, I was going to ask you, what do you think has changed in our practice? Because we talk about a practice we like it to be flexible. What do you think has changed in our welcoming practice? That might be a way of answering. You've got lots, but...
in our practice over a period of time, or just from gathering to gathering?
Let's talk about gathering to gathering first, like maybe one or two, like how they compare, but then also what we've changed across the whole board.
Yeah, so gathering to gathering, because each of our gatherings are different in how the before church, after church experience is, as well as where they are. There's slight nuances. So, Sunday morning, welcoming someone, it's not welcoming them in and then trying to connect with someone at the coffee line. It's trying to connect in people who are already in breakfast conversations.
Yeah.
And so there's a uniqueness there, and a difficulty, and also a beauty, because it means that you kind of get straight into a meal and you talk over a meal. But Saturday night we've got the coffee beforehand, Yarrawarra and Cronulla, because we're outside at Yarrawarra in particular. It's very much, it's almost like a cafe vibe, so it's a little bit different in how we welcome there. Cronulla, we do start outside before we come in. So, and as Tim said, when someone new comes, everybody knows. Same with Yarrawarra. Rides similar. They're starting to do more stuff outside as well.
They are.
And Miranda, they're different again. They're used to doing church without breakfast, so they do their welcoming in a more sort of staggered kind of way, where they have some people at the door welcoming people, and then they're plugging them in different ways in the morning. There's a few other people kind of running around doing some of those things. So there's like some of the things across the board. In terms of changing across, I think it's always working out. I think we're always thinking about how not just our welcomers at the door, but how we as a church as a whole are part of the welcoming culture. So it's the culture of being a welcoming church is always going to be different from gathering to gathering, and will evolve over time with the people that are there, I'm guessing. And so, we've been talking on Saturday nights a bit about how we can be more welcoming as a commitments group. And so there's sometimes it's that you'll have some people who are just naturally mindful and of welcoming, and it's just a natural instinct for them to be on the lookout. And other times where it's going to take more effort as a group to practice it. A practice that that hospitality won't come as naturally.
Yep.
I think what we're starting to work out, this might be part of the change, is how those people who naturally do it can help those who are not naturals at it. And whether that's doing that in pairs, which can sometimes help. So you've got one person who is really, can talk to anybody, and a person who struggles with that, pair them up and they can work together. The other thing I think is where, as our church, all age, all stageness, Tim's the one with the good words, not me, but as that kind of starts to grow and take more shape, we're seeing a lot of our younger crew are stepping up and helping out in that space as well, regardless of the age of the people coming. Yeah. And so we're seeing more of that taking place, which I think is good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, there's so much to think about. I mean, I suppose we could wrap it up there, but Tim, is there anything you would like to finish on in terms of welcoming?
No, I think we've done very, very well.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for holding the reins.
Yes.
Welcoming us into this space and making us feel that this is a place where we belong.
This wild bucking bronco of a podcast.
Steering the ship on the rocky waters of welcoming.
Yeah, that's me. But thank you very much, guys. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
To chat about welcoming. I suppose we could leave. Tim, you helped me out when we did communications a few weeks ago. You wanted to leave an application. Here's a question, I suppose, a very basic question for people who are listening or watching. Mm-hmm. How do you do welcoming in your church? And what's one thing you would like to change, given out? Doesn't mean you have to change it in the way that Soul Revival does, but what would you like to change to make your church more welcoming? We'll leave it at that. And if you have any answers, email me, joel@shockabsorber.com.au. We very happily share them on the podcast, or you can drop them as a comment on our YouTube channel as well. But for now, thank you very much for listening and watching if you're online with us, and thank you, Tim and Jai. It's been excellent. And we'll finish with a one way.
One way.
One way.